December in Chicago has teeth. The kind of cold that doesn't just bite, it devours. Wind screamed through the canyon of buildings on Lakeshore Drive, carrying snow that felt like glass shards against exposed skin. I ran through it anyway, my daughter's weight growing heavier in my arms with each desperate step. Emma was dying. I could feel it in the shallow, whistling gasps she dragged into her lungs, could see it in the blue tinge creeping across her lips, despite the scarf I'd wrapped around her face. 7 years old and fighting for every breath while I sprinted through a blizzard because I'd run out of options 3 blocks ago. The pharmacy had closed early. Weather, the apologetic sign said, like weather was a reasonable excuse when children were suffocating. The emergency room was 40 minutes away in this storm, and I didn't have 40 minutes. I didn't have a car. I didn't even have the cab fare it would take to get there before Emma's airways closed completely. What I had was a crumpled piece of paper with an address I'd copied from a flyer at the library. Dr. Adrian Moretti, private practice. The address was in this building somewhere, one of these glass and steel towers where people who could afford private doctors lived in climate-controlled luxury while the rest of us froze. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The lobby door was locked. Of course it was. Security after 8 p.m., a discreet sign informed me. I pounded on the glass with my free hand, Emma's labored breathing loud against my ear. A doorman appeared, middle-aged and suspicious, shaking his head before I could even speak. Please. The word tore from my throat. My daughter. She can't breathe. There's a doctor in this building. Dr. Moretti. Please. I just need no solicitation. His voice was muffled through the glass but clear enough. Emergency room is that way. She doesn't have time. I was screaming now, hysteria cracking my voice. Please, please, just let me find the doctor. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. Emma's body convulsed in my arms. A wet, rattling sound came from her chest that I recognized from too many previous attacks. Stage 3, maybe 4. Minutes left, not hours. I stopped asking, stopped begging, just started pounding on the glass with both fists. Emma crushed between me and the door, my knuckles splitting against the reinforced surface. Blood smeared across the pristine glass. The doorman was on his phone now, probably calling the police. Let him. Let them arrest me after Emma was breathing again. Let us in, I sobbed, pounding harder. Please, God, someone help us. The door opened so suddenly I nearly fell through it. But it wasn't the doorman. It was a man I'd never seen before, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than 6 months of my rent. Dark hair, darker eyes, and an expression of cold fury that should have terrified me. I didn't care. Didn't care about anything except the fact that the door was open. Where's Dr. Moretti? I gasped, stumbling into the warmth. Please, my daughter, she needs a doctor. There is no Dr. Moretti. His voice was deep, accented slightly. Italian, maybe. That office has been empty for 3 months. The world tilted. No, that couldn't be right. I'd seen the flyer. I'd written down the address. Emma made a sound like a dying bird. Her lips were fully blue now. Her eyes were rolling back. No. I sank to my knees on the marble floor, my hands shaking as I tried to position her for CPR. I barely remembered from a class I'd taken years ago. Emma, baby, stay with me. Stay with me, please. How long has she been like this? The man's voice cut through my panic. 20 minutes, maybe 30. She has asthma, severe. She needs an inhaler or a nebulizer or... My voice broke. She's dying. My baby is dying, and I don't know what to... He pulled out his phone, spoke rapid Italian into it. I caught words I didn't understand. Medical terms, maybe. His tone clipped and commanding. Then he crouched beside me, his expensive suit touching the wet floor without hesitation. Give her to me. What? No, I. Give her to me. Not a request. A command delivered with absolute authority. I have a doctor 3 minutes away, but we need to move now. I looked at Emma, at her blue lips and shallow breathing and the way her small body had gone terrifyingly still. Looked at this stranger with his cold eyes and expensive clothes and the kind of presence that suggested he was used to being obeyed. I handed him my daughter. He stood in one fluid motion, Emma cradled against his chest like she weighed nothing. With me. Now. I scrambled to my feet, following him toward the elevator. The doorman started to protest. The man silenced him with a single look, the kind of look that made grown men step back and remember urgent business elsewhere. The elevator was mirrored on all sides. In the reflection, I saw what I looked like. Soaking wet, cheap coat plastered to my thin frame, jeans with holes that weren't fashionable, just worn through. Hair plastered to my skull, blood on my knuckles. I looked like exactly what I was. Desperate, poor, out of options. The man holding my daughter looked like power incarnate. Tall, probably 6'2" or more, with the kind of build that suggested he could be gentle or brutal depending on what the situation required. His jaw was sharp enough to cut glass, shadowed with deliberate stubble. And his eyes? God, his eyes were the darkest brown I'd ever seen, so dark they looked black in the elevator's lighting. Those eyes were currently focused on Emma, his expression unreadable as he monitored her breathing. "What's her name?" he asked without looking at me. "Emma. Emma Reeves." My voice shook. "She's 7. She's all I have. Please, if she dies." "She's not going to die." He said it with such absolute certainty that I almost believed him. "Not tonight." The elevator climbed, and climbed, past the numbered floors, into the letters. P for penthouse. The doors opened onto a private foyer that was larger than my entire apartment. "Sit," he ordered, gesturing to a leather chair near the elevator. "Don't move. Don't touch anything." Then he was striding through massive double doors into the penthouse proper, my daughter still in his arms, leaving me alone in the foyer with my racing heart and the terrible knowledge that I'd just handed my child to a complete stranger because I'd run out of choices. The foyer was silent except for my own ragged breathing. I sat because my legs wouldn't hold me anymore, pressed my bleeding knuckles against my mouth, and tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Tried not to imagine Emma's funeral. Tried not to calculate how far I'd fallen, that I'd given my daughter to a man whose name I didn't even know. 5 minutes passed. 10. 15. Each one an eternity. Then the double doors opened and a woman emerged. Late 50s, gray hair pulled into an efficient bun, wearing medical scrubs and carrying a black bag that looked professional and well used. "You're the mother?" she asked in accented English. Russian, I thought. "Yes. Emma, is she alive? Stabilized?" The woman's expression softened slightly. "She's received albuterol and prednisone. Her oxygen saturation is coming back up. She'll need monitoring through the night and a follow-up treatment in the morning, but she's out of immediate danger." I started crying, couldn't help it. Great, gasping sobs that shook my whole body. "Thank you. God, thank you so much." "Thank Mr. Volkov," the woman said. "I'm just the doctor he pays to be available." Volkov. So that was his name. "Can I see her?" I asked, trying to pull myself together. "In a moment. Mr. Volkov wants to speak with you first." Dread settled into my stomach. Of course there would be a price. Nothing was free, especially not miracles. The woman led me through the double doors into the penthouse itself. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Chicago skyline, the storm still raging outside but silent from within this fortress of glass and steel. The furnishings were modern, expensive, and somehow cold despite the warmth of the space. Everything was gray and white and chrome, beautiful in the way a blade was beautiful. Mr. Volkov stood by the windows, a glass of something amber in his hand. He'd removed his suit jacket. His white dress shirt fitted enough to show the powerful build beneath. He turned when we entered, those dark eyes locking onto me with an intensity that made my breath catch. "Emma is sleeping in the guest room," he said without preamble. "Dr. Petrov will monitor her through the night. You'll stay here as well." What? "No, I need to take her home. Need. You need to ensure she receives proper medical care." His voice remained calm, reasonable, "which she will not receive in whatever inadequate housing you're currently occupying." The casual dismissal of my life stung. "You don't know anything about me. I know you ran through a blizzard with a dying child because you couldn't afford basic medical care. I know you don't have insurance, otherwise you'd have gone directly to an emergency room. I know you're desperate enough to track down a doctor who doesn't exist and bang on doors in neighborhoods you don't belong in." He took a sip of his drink. "What else do I need to know?" My hands clenched into fists. "You need to know that I'm grateful for your help, but I'm not a charity case. As soon as Emma's stable enough to move, we'll leave." "Will you?" He moved closer, each step deliberate. "And then what? Wait for the next attack? Hope you can afford the medication she needs? Run through another blizzard and pray you find someone who gives a damn?" "I'll figure it out. I always figure it out." "Clearly." His eyes dropped to my bleeding knuckles. "You're doing an excellent job." Rage flooded through me, hot and cleansing. "Fuck you." His eyebrows rose slightly. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." I stepped forward, tipping my head back to maintain eye contact. He was so much taller than me, but I was too angry to care. "You don't get to judge me. You don't know what it's like to choose between medication and rent, to work 3 jobs and still not have enough, to watch your daughter struggle to breathe and know there's nothing you can do about it because the system doesn't give a damn about people like us." "You're right," he said quietly. "I don't know what that's like. Which is precisely why you're going to stay here until I'm satisfied Emma is healthy. I'm not staying in your penthouse like some kind of what?" His voice dropped dangerously low. "What exactly do you think I want from you, Emma's mother?" "Reeves. My name is Reeves. Grace Reeves." "Grace?" He said my name like he was testing how it felt in his mouth. "I'm Alexei Volkov, and what I want from you is very simple. I want you to accept help for your daughter. That's all." "Why?" I searched his face for answers. "Why would you help us? You don't know us. We're nothing to you." Something flickered across his expression. Pain, maybe. Or memory. "I had a sister once. Younger than me by 10 years. Daria." His jaw tightened. "She had asthma. Severe, like Emma. One night when I was 17, she had an attack. My father was away on business. My mother was drunk. I was just a boy who didn't know what to do." He turned back to the window, his reflection ghostly in the glass. "I ran to 3 different neighbors before I found someone who would help. By the time I got her to a hospital, it was too late. She was 8 years old." The confession hung in the air between us, raw and bleeding. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm not telling you this for sympathy." He faced me again, his expression carefully controlled. "I'm telling you so you understand that when I saw you through that lobby door with a dying child in your arms, I didn't see a stranger. I saw myself 20 years ago, and I decided that this time, the child would live." My anger drained away, leaving only exhaustion. "Thank you," I managed, "for saving her, for caring when you didn't have to. You can thank me by staying until she's well. 3 days. Maybe 4. Dr. Petrov will monitor her. I'll have appropriate medications delivered in the morning. You'll both have everything you need. I can't afford. I'm not asking you to pay. He set down his glass with a soft click. Consider it a debt I'm settling, one I've owed for a very long time. I wanted to argue, wanted to refuse on principle, to maintain what little pride I had left. But I thought about Emma, about her blue lips and rattling breaths, about the fact that this might be the only chance she had to recover properly, instead of struggling through another attack in our drafty apartment with medication I couldn't afford. 3 days, I said finally. And then we leave. 3 days, he agreed. Now, would you like to see your daughter? Would I like to see my daughter? As if there was any question. Yes, please. He led me down a hallway lined with abstract art I didn't understand, and into a bedroom that was larger than my living room and kitchen combined. Emma lay in the center of a massive bed, her small body nearly swallowed by white linens. A nebulizer sat on the nightstand, medication already loaded. An oxygen monitor clipped to her finger showed steady readings. She was breathing. Really breathing, not the terrible gasping struggle from earlier. Her lips were pink again. Her chest rose and fell in an easy rhythm. I crossed to the bed on shaking legs, sinking into the chair someone had placed beside it. Took Emma's small hand in mine and brought it to my lips. I'm here, baby, I whispered. Mama's here. You're safe now. Behind me, I heard Alexei speak quietly to Dr. Petrov. Heard their footsteps retreat, giving us privacy. The door closed with a soft click. I laid my head on the edge of Emma's bed and cried. Relief, terror, gratitude, and something else I couldn't name, all pouring out in silent sobs that shook my shoulders. We'd survived. Emma had survived. But as I sat in that expensive bedroom, holding my daughter's hand and listening to her steady breathing, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. That by accepting Alexei Volkov's help, I'd stepped into something I didn't understand. That the debt he claimed to be settling wasn't the only debt being created tonight. The first night passed in fragments. Emma woke once, confused and frightened, and I soothed her back to sleep with whispered promises I hoped I could keep. Dr. Petrov checked on us every 2 hours, her professional efficiency slowly warming into something like kindness. You did well, she told me around 3 a.m., adjusting Emma's oxygen monitor. Most mothers panic. You kept your head, found help. That's why she's alive. I didn't keep my head, I said quietly, careful not to wake Emma. I banged on a door and begged a stranger for help. You fought for her? Dr. Petrov's accent grew thicker with tiredness. That's what matters. In my country we have saying, mother who fights for her child is fiercer than any soldier. After she left, I tried to sleep in the chair, but rest wouldn't come. My mind kept replaying the night's events. The desperate run through the snow. The locked door. Alexei's face when he'd opened it. Cold and beautiful, and somehow inevitable. The way he'd looked at Emma, like seeing a ghost. Around dawn, I gave up on sleep and moved to the window. The storm had passed, leaving Chicago blanketed in fresh snow that glittered under streetlights. From this height, the city looked clean, peaceful. You couldn't see the struggle from up here. The people sleeping in doorways, the parents calculating whether they could afford both heat and food this week, the children going to bed hungry. You couldn't see the real Chicago, just the pretty version. You should be resting. I spun around to find Alexei standing in the doorway. He'd changed into dark slacks and a black sweater, his hair slightly damp from a shower. Even exhausted, he looked like he'd stepped from a magazine spread. Wealth and power worn as casually as most people wore jeans. I can't sleep, I admitted. Too wired, I guess. He moved into the room, his steps silent on the plush carpet. Checked Emma's readings himself, his expression softening slightly as he watched her sleep. "She looks like you," he said quietly. "Same stubborn chin. Everyone says she has her father's eyes. And where is her father?" The question was carefully neutral, but I heard the real question beneath it. "What's your situation? Are you alone? Is someone going to come looking for you?" "Dead," I said flatly. "Car accident 2 years ago. Drunk driver ran a red light." "I'm sorry." "Everyone's always sorry." I turned back to the window. "Sorry doesn't pay the medical bills he left behind. Sorry doesn't bring him back. Sorry doesn't help when your daughter is suffocating and you're too poor to save her." "Is that what you think? That you're too poor to save her?" I laughed, bitter and sharp. "I know I am. Tonight proved it. If you hadn't been there, if you hadn't helped, Emma would be dead right now. Because I couldn't afford the help she needed. You found help." His voice was closer now. He'd moved to stand beside me at the window. "That takes intelligence and courage. It takes desperation. Sometimes those are the same thing." We stood in silence for a moment, watching the city wake up below us. Early commuters, snowplows, the world continuing like the previous night's terror had never happened. "Why did you really open that door?" I asked, finally. "You said you saw yourself, saw your sister. But you must see desperate people all the time in a building like this. Why us? Why Emma?" He was quiet for so long I didn't think he'd answer. Then, "Because you didn't ask for money. You asked for help." I turned to look at him. "There's a difference?" "In my experience, always." His dark eyes met mine. "Most people who pound on my door want something from me, want access to my wealth, my connections, my power. But you?" A slight smile tugged at his lips. "You didn't even know who I was. You just saw an open door and a chance to save your daughter. That kind of desperation is pure, honest. I'm not sure that's a compliment. It's an observation." He turned to face me fully. "Grace Reeves, single mother, working 3 jobs to keep her daughter alive. You don't live in this neighborhood. You don't belong in buildings like this. So tell me, how did you end up at my door specifically?" The question felt loaded, but I was too tired to parse the subtext. "I told you. I was looking for Dr. Moretti. I saw a flyer at the library with this address. There are no flyers." His voice remained calm, but something had sharpened in his gaze. "I own this building. I know every business, every resident, every piece of paper that gets distributed. There are no medical offices here and haven't been for years." My stomach dropped. "But I wrote it down." He pulled out his phone, typed something, then showed me the screen. A missing person alert from 3 weeks ago. A grainy photo of a middle-aged man, Dr. Adrian Moretti, wanted for medical fraud and prescription drug distribution. "He used fake flyers to lure desperate people," Alexei said quietly, "promised cheap care, then extorted them. Sold false prescriptions. Last known activity was in this area before he disappeared." The room tilted. "I followed a flyer from a criminal." "You followed hope. He exploited that." Alexei's jaw tightened. "Men like him prey on people like you. People with no options who are desperate enough to believe in solutions that don't exist." So I got lucky. The realization settled over me like a weight. If you'd been anyone else, if the doorman had kept me out, if... "You got lucky," he agreed. "This time. But luck runs out, Grace. Desperation is not a sustainable survival strategy." "What else am I supposed to do?" The words came out sharper than I intended. "I work every hour I can. I've applied for assistance programs that have waiting lists years long. I've begged doctors for payment plans they won't give. What else is there except desperation? Acceptance. Of what? That my daughter might die because I'm poor? Of help." He moved closer, his presence somehow both threatening and oddly comforting. Real help. Not fraud. Not scams. Not prayers and luck. I don't have money to pay for real help. I'm not asking for money. Then what are you asking for? His eyes held mine. I haven't decided yet, but Grace, understand something. You're in my home now, under my protection, whether you asked for it or not. That means something in my world. What world? But I thought I already knew. The expensive penthouse, the doctor on call at midnight, the casual authority, the way the doorman had backed down with a single look. What exactly do you do, Mr. Volkov? I manage investments. His smile was thin. Import and export. Various business interests across the city. That's not an answer. It's the answer I'm giving you. He turned back toward Emma, his expression softening again as he watched her sleep. Your daughter needs consistent medical care, proper medication, an environment that won't trigger her asthma. I can provide all of that. In exchange for what? Nothing. At my skeptical look, he continued. I told you. This is a debt I'm settling. For Daria. Let me do this, Grace. Let me help your daughter the way I couldn't help my sister. It should have felt wrong. Should have triggered every warning bell I possessed. You didn't accept this kind of help without consequences. Didn't let powerful strangers into your life without a price. But Emma was breathing easily for the first time in months, and I was so tired of fighting alone. 3 days, I repeated, just until she's stable. 3 days, he agreed. Neither of us believed it would end there. The 3 days became 4, then 5. Emma was improving, but Dr. Petrov insisted on monitoring her closely. The medications Alexei had procured, without asking my permission or input, were working better than anything I'd been able to afford before. Her breathing was easy, her color good, her energy returning. She loved the penthouse, loved the huge windows and the plush carpets, and the way Jana, Alexei's housekeeper, brought her hot chocolate with real whipped cream. Loved the fact that she had her own room with a television and more toys than I'd ever been able to give her. I hated how much she loved it, hated the comparison it created between this life and ours. On the 5th morning, I found Alexei in his study. The room was all dark wood and leather, masculine and intimidating. He sat behind a massive desk, reviewing something on his laptop, his expression focused. He looked up when I knocked, and something in his eyes softened. Grace, how is Emma this morning? Good. Really good. I stepped inside, my bare feet silent on the Persian rug that probably cost more than my yearly salary. That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. She's well enough to leave now. We should go home. Should you? He leaned back in his chair, studying me. And what home is that exactly? I stiffened. My apartment. The one I pay rent for. The one with mold in the bathroom. The broken heating. The neighbors who smoke in the hallways despite Emma's asthma. He pulled up something on his laptop, turned it toward me. This home? The screen showed my apartment building. Not just photos, detailed reports, inspection violations, tenant complaints, police reports from the neighborhood. He'd had someone investigate where I lived. You had no right. I have every right to know the environment you're taking a child with severe asthma into. His voice remained calm, but steel ran beneath it. That building is a death trap, Grace. The landlord hasn't brought it up to code in 15 years. The heating system fails regularly. The emergency exits are blocked. And your specific unit? He clicked to another screen. Tested positive for black mold, carbon monoxide levels that fluctuate into dangerous ranges, and pest infestation. Each word hit like a physical blow. I knew my apartment wasn't great. But seeing it documented like this, clinical and damning, made my chest tight. I can't afford better. I know. He closed the laptop. Which is why you're not going back. Excuse me? You heard me. He stood, moving around the desk with that predatory grace I was starting to recognize. Emma needs a stable environment. You need stability. I have 18 properties across Chicago, all maintained to the highest standards. Pick one. I laughed, the sound harsh. You're offering me an apartment? Just like that? Yes. And what do you want in return? His jaw tightened. Why do you assume I want something? Because nobody gives without taking. That's how the world works. I crossed my arms, defensive. So what is it? You want me to work for you? Sleep with you? What's the price, Alexei? Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. You think very little of me. I don't know you well enough to think anything. That's the problem. I stepped closer, tipping my head back to maintain eye contact. You're this mysterious man who saves dying children and has doctors on call and investigates people's living situations. You throw money around like it's meaningless and speak in vague terms about business interests. I'm not stupid, Alexei. I know what you are. Do you? His voice dropped low. What am I, Grace? Dangerous. The word came out barely above a whisper. You're someone dangerous who operates outside the law. Probably organized crime, maybe worse. And you're offering me things I desperately need, which means eventually you'll want something I can't afford to give. You're right. The admission surprised me. I am dangerous. I do operate outside the law. And yes, I want something from you. My heart hammered. What? I want you to let me help you. He reached up, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear with surprising gentleness. I want you to stop fighting alone. Stop choosing between rent and medicine, between food and heat. I want you to accept that there's another way. There's always a price. The price is trust. His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I shivered despite myself. Trust that I'm not going to hurt you or Emma. Trust that I can give you stability without demanding something you're not willing to give. Trust that maybe, just maybe, I'm not the villain you're trying to make me into. Why? The question came out plaintive. Why do you care? We're nothing to you. You're not nothing. His hand dropped, but his eyes held mine. You're a woman who fought through a blizzard for her daughter, who looked at me, a man who clearly frightened you, and chose defiance over submission, who would rather bleed on my lobby floor than accept defeat. His voice softened. You remind me that there's still courage in this world, still love worth dying for. That's not nothing, Grace. That's everything. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think past the intensity of his gaze, the sincerity in his words, the way my body responded to his nearness despite every warning bell in my head. 1 month, I heard myself say. We'll stay 1 month. You help us get stable, really stable, and then we reassess. No obligations, no promises beyond that. 1 month, he agreed. But Grace, you'll stay here, not in another property. Here, where I can ensure you're both safe. That's non-negotiable. Steele returned to his voice. You and Emma under my roof, under my protection. Those are the terms. I should have refused. Should have grabbed Emma and run before whatever this was could sink its hooks deeper. But I looked around the study, thought about Emma's easy breathing, about the meals I hadn't had to ration, about sleeping through the night without worrying about heating bills or eviction notices. 1 month, I repeated, and then we decide. His smile was slow, victorious. Then we decide. The next 2 weeks fell into an unexpected rhythm. Mornings, I'd wake in the guest room, Emma curled against my side, sunlight streaming through windows that overlooked the lake. Jana would bring breakfast, real breakfast, not cereal or toast, but eggs and fruit and pastries that melted on your tongue. Emma would do schoolwork with a tutor Alexei had hired without asking. I'd tried to protest that too, but he'd simply said, "She's behind because of illness. This evens the playing field." And watching Emma's confidence grow as she caught up, I couldn't argue. Afternoons were mine to explore the penthouse, though I felt like an intruder in someone else's life. Dr. Petrov came daily to check Emma, gradually scaling back treatments as her lungs strengthened. The medications Alexei provided were making a real difference. "These are expensive," I told him one afternoon, reading the labels. "I mean, really expensive. Like, mortgage payment, expensive." "Good thing you're not paying for them then." He'd been working at his laptop, barely looking up. "Emma's health is not negotiable, Grace. I'll pay you back. Somehow. It might take years, but—" "I don't want your money." Finally, he'd looked up, his expression exasperated. "Why is this so difficult for you to accept?" "Because I'm not a charity case." "No?" He'd stood, crossed to where I perched on the arm of his sofa. "You're a woman who's been let down by every system designed to help you, who's learned that accepting help means losing control, who's so used to fighting alone that the idea of partnership terrifies you. I'm not terrified." "Liar." But his voice held no judgment. "You're terrified I'll take something from you. Your autonomy, your dignity, your daughter's love. You're waiting for me to reveal the monster you're convinced I am." "Aren't you?" I'd whispered. "A monster?" "Sometimes." The admission was casual, terrifying in its honesty. "When necessary. When it protects what's mine. But Grace?" He'd leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. "I've never been a monster to those under my protection. And you are very much under my protection now." The possessiveness should have repulsed me. Instead, heat pooled low in my stomach. Evenings were when everything shifted. Alexei would return from wherever he spent his days. I didn't ask, and he didn't offer. And we'd have dinner together. The three of us, like a family. Emma adored him, would chatter about her day, show him her schoolwork, beg him to read her stories before bed. And he'd indulge her with a patience that seemed at odds with everything else about him, would make funny voices for the characters, answer her endless questions, tuck her in with a gentleness that made my throat tight. "You're good with her," I'd said one night after Emma was asleep. "Children are easy." He'd poured wine for both of us, a ritual I was starting to look forward to. "They're honest about what they want. No games, no hidden agendas. Just brutal honesty." "Exactly." He'd handed me a glass. "She asked me today why we don't sleep in the same room if we like each other." I'd choked on my wine. "What did you tell her?" "That adults are complicated." His eyes had glinted with amusement. "She said that was a stupid answer." "She's not wrong." She also said she hopes we figure it out soon because she likes it here and doesn't want to leave." The confession had gutted me. "Alexei, I'm not using your daughter to manipulate you." His voice had turned serious. "But I won't lie to her either. She asked if she could stay. I told her that was up to her mother." "And what do you want?" I'd forced myself to ask. "I want you to stay." Simple. Direct. Devastating. Both of you. Permanently. "That's insane. We've known you 3 weeks." "I've known you long enough." He'd set down his glass, moved to sit beside me on the couch. Close enough that I could smell his cologne, feel his body heat. "Long enough to know you're strong and smart and devoted to your daughter. Long enough to know you make me laugh. Long enough to know I look forward to coming home because you're here. You barely know me? Then let me know you better." His hand had found mine, fingers lacing together. "Stay. Not as a guest. Not as charity. Stay as someone who belongs here. With me." If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. I don't belong in your world. But my protest had been weak. You belong wherever you choose to be. His thumb traced circles on my palm. And I'm choosing to want you here. That night, I'd almost kissed him, had leaned in, drawn by the heat in his eyes and the way his gaze dropped to my lips. But Emma had called out from her room, needing water, and the moment had shattered. Maybe it was better that way. Maybe I needed time to think clearly, away from the intoxicating pull of him. The shift happened on a Wednesday. I was helping Jana in the kitchen. She'd been teaching me to make Emma's favorite cookies, when Alexei's phone rang. He'd been working at the breakfast bar, reviewing some documents. He answered in Russian, his tone clipped. Then his entire body went rigid. Whatever was being said, it wasn't good. His responses were short, sharp, commands delivered with absolute authority. When he hung up, the man who'd been reading Emma bedtime stories the night before had vanished. In his place was someone cold, dangerous, barely controlled. Jana, take Grace and Emma to the safe room. My blood went cold. What's happening? Nothing you need to worry about. But he was already moving, pulling a gun from somewhere I hadn't known he kept one. Jana, now. Alexei? Grace. He turned, and the look in his eyes froze me in place. There are men coming here. Men who want to hurt me by hurting what's mine. You and Emma are what's mine. So you're going to do exactly what Jana tells you, and you're not going to argue. Understand? I nodded, too shocked to do anything else. Jana grabbed my arm, pulled me toward a panel in the hallway I'd never noticed. It slid open to reveal a staircase descending into darkness. Emma appeared from her room, her eyes wide with fear. Mama? It's okay, baby. I scooped her up, following Jana down the stairs. We're just playing a game. The safe room was larger than I expected, comfortable even, with a sofa and supplies and monitors showing various angles of the penthouse above. Jana locked us in with a heavy mechanical sound that made my stomach drop. What's happening? I demanded. Who's coming? Rivals. Jana's expression was grim. Mr. Volkov has enemies. They discovered he has someone here he cares about. You. But we're not. I'm not. It doesn't matter what you are. It matters what he's shown them you are. She moved to the monitors, her hands steady despite the tension. He's been too visible with you. Bringing you places, having his men guard you when you leave the building. In his world, that means you matter. And anything that matters to him becomes a target. Guilt crashed over me. This is my fault. This is his choice. Jana's voice softened slightly. Mr. Volkov knew the risks. He decided you were worth them. On the monitors, I watched men in tactical gear enter the penthouse. 5 of them, armed, moving with military precision. Alexei met them in the living room, flanked by 2 men I'd seen around the building but never really noticed. His security, his people, his world. The confrontation was brief. Alexei spoke in Russian, his posture relaxed, but his hand never far from his weapon. The leader of the tactical team responded, gesturing aggressively. Negotiations, maybe, or threats. Then one of them made a mistake, mentioned Emma's name. I could read it on his lips. Emma. Alexei moved so fast the cameras almost couldn't track it. One moment he was standing still. The next, he had the man by the throat, slammed against the window hard enough to crack the glass. The room erupted into violence. Gunfire, sharp cracks that made Emma scream and bury her face in my shoulder. Bodies colliding. Alexei fought like something inhuman, precise and brutal. Every movement calculated to incapacitate or kill. It was over in 90 seconds. The tactical team was down. Dead or unconscious, I couldn't tell. Alexei stood among them, barely winded, blood on his knuckles and a cold fury in his eyes I'd never seen before. This was the monster, the one I'd been waiting to see, the one who'd been hiding behind gentleness and patience and bedtime stories. I should have been terrified, should have grabbed Emma and run the moment we were released from that safe room. Instead, I watched him check his men for injuries, watched him pull out his phone and make calls with the same controlled efficiency he used for everything, watched him become the predator I'd always known lurked beneath the surface. And God help me, I wasn't afraid. I was grateful. Because he'd done that for us. Had fought 5 armed men because they'd threatened his people. Had killed. Yes, killed. Some of those men weren't moving, to protect Emma and me. 30 minutes later, Jana unlocked the safe room. It's clear. Mr. Volkov asks that you wait in your room. Cleanup is happening. Cleanup. The word was so clinical, so normal for something so horrifying. I carried Emma back upstairs, using the service elevator Jana directed us to, so we wouldn't see whatever was being cleaned in the main penthouse. Tucked Emma into bed with promises that everything was fine, just a security drill, nothing to worry about. She fell asleep eventually, exhausted from fear. I sat beside her, stroking her hair, trying to process what I'd witnessed. The knock on my door came an hour later. Alexei stood in the hallway, freshly showered, wearing clean clothes, but I could see the bruise forming on his jaw, the split in his knuckles poorly bandaged. Grace! I pulled him inside, shut the door quietly so he wouldn't wake Emma. Then I kissed him. Not gently, not tentatively. I kissed him like I was drowning and he was air. Poured every complicated emotion from the past hour into it. Fear, gratitude, desire, acceptance. He responded immediately, his hands finding my waist, pulling me closer. The kiss deepened, turned hungry, weeks of tension finally finding release. His back hit the door, and I pressed against him, needing to feel him solid and alive and real. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes had gone nearly black. Grace, don't. I pressed my fingers to his lips. Don't apologize for what you are. Don't explain the violence. I saw what you did. I saw why you did it. And I'm not afraid. You should be. His voice was rough. You should take Emma and run from me as fast as you can. Why? Because you protected us? Because you fought men who wanted to hurt my daughter? I slid my hands up his chest, felt his heart hammering. I've spent 2 years trying to keep Emma safe by myself. Tonight I watched someone else do that. Someone who was willing to kill for her. For us. Why would that make me run? Because it's what I am, Grace. A killer. A criminal. A man who operates in darkness and corruption. His hands tightened on my waist. Everything you've tried to keep Emma away from. You're also the man who reads her bedtime stories, who makes sure she takes her medicine, who had a tutor hired within 24 hours of meeting her. I held his gaze. You're complicated, Alexei. You're dangerous and gentle and possessive and careful. And I stopped, the words catching in my throat. You what? His voice was barely a whisper. I think I'm falling for you. The confession terrified me more than the violence had. I know it's too soon. I know it's crazy. But watching you tonight, seeing you become something terrifying to protect us, I realize something. I feel safer with the monster than I ever did with the good men who let me down. He kissed me again, slower this time, deeper. You're going to ruin me, he breathed against my lips. Make me soft. Make me weak. Or maybe I'll make you stronger. I pulled back slightly. What happened tonight? Those men? Will there be more? I handled it. His jaw tightened. The organization that sent them will receive a very clear message about the consequences of threatening you. It won't happen again. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. Absolute certainty. Because I've just declared war on anyone who even looks at you wrong. By morning, every family in Chicago will know that you and Emma are untouchable. That harming either of you means death. The primitive part of my brain that still operated on pure survival recognized the claim for what it was. Protection. Territory. Mine. The month isn't up, I said quietly. But I've made my decision. His breath caught. Grace. We're staying. Not because I'm afraid to leave, not because I need your money or protection. I framed his face with my hands. We're staying because Emma loves it here, because I'm tired of fighting alone, because you make me laugh, and you respect my boundaries, and you've been nothing but honest about who and what you are. I'm dangerous. I know. I'm accepting the danger because the alternative, going back to struggling alone, always one emergency away from losing everything, that's more dangerous than anything in your world. I kissed him softly. We're staying, Alexei, if you'll have us. His arms came around me, crushing me against his chest. If I'll have you, he repeated, voice rough with emotion. Grace, I've been yours since you pounded on that lobby door with blood on your hands and desperation in your eyes. I'll have you for as long as you'll let me. We stood like that for a long time, holding each other in the darkness, while Emma slept peacefully in the next room, and the evidence of violence was cleaned from the floors below. Tomorrow, I'd process what staying meant. The implications, the dangers, the ways my life had irrevocably changed. Tonight, I just held the man who'd saved my daughter and somehow saved me too. The next 3 weeks transformed everything. Alexei stopped pretending his business was anything other than what it was. Would take calls in front of me, speaking in Russian or Italian about shipments and territories and disputes that needed handling. I didn't ask for details, didn't want to know specifics that might force me to confront exactly what keeping us safe required. But I understood the broad strokes. He ran operations for one of Chicago's organized crime families, managed logistics, resolved conflicts, eliminated problems. He was good at it, maybe too good, considering how young he was to have so much power. I inherited the position, he told me one night after Emma was asleep. We'd fallen into a pattern of late-night conversations, wine and honesty in equal measure. My father built the network. I was supposed to have years to learn before taking over. But he died suddenly, and I was thrown into the deep end at 25. That's young for this kind of responsibility. Too young. He swirled wine in his glass, staring at nothing. I made mistakes. Trusted people I shouldn't have. Let emotions cloud judgment. Lost my sister because I was too inexperienced to see the danger coming. Alexei, what happened to Daria wasn't your fault, wasn't it? His eyes met mine, dark with old pain. I was responsible for family security. I should have had better people around us, better protocols, should have ensured every family member had immediate access to medical care. You were 17. I was old enough. He set down his glass, and I swore after she died that I would never again fail to protect someone I cared about, that I would build systems, networks, resources so complete that no one under my protection would ever be vulnerable. Is that why you helped us? Your system? I helped you because you reminded me of myself. He pulled me against his side, and I went willingly, tucking under his arm. Desperate, terrified, willing to fight impossible odds for someone you loved. I saw myself in that lobby with Daria 20 years ago, and I decided that this time the story would end differently. I tilted my head up to kiss his jaw. It did. Because of you. Because you fought first. His arm tightened around me. I just opened the door. Living with Alexei meant learning to navigate his world. His people became familiar faces. Dmitri, his head of security. the mountain of a man who'd been in that tactical team fight. Mikhail, his second in command, who spoke 6 languages and handled international operations. Various others whose names I learned and roles I didn't question. They treated me with careful respect, called me Miss Reeves, even though I asked them to use my first name, protected Emma like she was precious cargo. Gradually, I realized they weren't just humoring their boss. They genuinely seemed to care. Mr. Volkov is different with you here, Dmitri told me one afternoon, while Emma played in the penthouse garden. Yes, Alexei's penthouse had a garden. Lighter. He smiles now. He smiled before. Not like this. Dimitri's expression was serious. We've worked for him for 8 years. Never seen him bring someone into his personal space. Never seen him care about anything except business and protecting the family name. You and the little one. You changed something. The weight of that responsibility settled over me. What if it doesn't work? What if we decide to leave? Then he'll let you go. Dmitri said it with absolute certainty. Mr. Volkov doesn't keep anyone prisoner. But Miss Reeves? I don't think you'll leave. I think you see what we see. That he's a good man in a dark world, trying to do right by the people he loves. Was Alexei a good man? By conventional standards, absolutely not. He broke laws daily, ordered violence, operated outside every social contract I'd been raised to respect. But he was good to Emma, good to me, good to his people. Maybe in his world, that was enough. Emma certainly thought so. She'd stopped asking when we were going home, started calling the penthouse our place, drew pictures of the 3 of us together that she hung on the refrigerator with magnets shaped like tropical fish. Do you like Mr. Alexei? I asked her one night while brushing her hair. I love him, she said simply. He makes you smile, Mama. You haven't smiled like that since Daddy died. The observation gutted me. I'd thought I was hiding my grief, my stress, my constant fear. Apparently, 7-year-olds saw more than I gave them credit for. Does it bother you that I'm happy with someone who isn't Daddy? Emma considered this seriously. Daddy would want you to be happy. He told me once, before he died, that his job was to make sure you smiled every day. If he can't do it anymore, someone else should. I pulled her into a hug, blinking back tears. When did you get so wise? I'm almost 8. Said with the gravity of someone announcing they were almost 30. I'm practically grown. Up. Don't grow up too fast, baby. Stay little a while longer. Okay, Mama. She yawned, settling into bed. But when I do grow up, I want to be strong like you. And brave. And able to make boys listen like Mr. Alexei does. I laughed through my tears. That's a very specific goal. You and Mr. Alexei are the strongest people I know. If I'm like both of you, I'll be unstoppable. She said it with such confidence that I almost believed her. After she was asleep, I found Alexei on the terrace. He stood at the railing, overlooking the city, his profile sharp against the lights. I wrapped my arms around him from behind, pressing my cheek against his back. Emma says she loves you. His body tensed. Grace. I'm not upset. I'm glad. I tightened my hold. She needs a father figure. Someone strong and consistent. Someone who shows up. I'm not her father. No. But you could be. The words came out before I could stop them. If you wanted to be. He turned in my arms, his expression unreadable. What are you saying? I'm saying I want this to be permanent. Not a month trial. Not temporary. I want us to stay. Build a life here. Let Emma grow up safe and loved. I met his eyes. I want to see where this goes between us. Really see it, without an expiration date hanging over us. You know what that means. His hands framed my face. You'll be associated with me completely. Every enemy I have becomes your enemy. Every danger in my world touches you. I know. And you're still willing? I watched you fight 5 armed men to protect us. Watched you declare war on anyone who'd hurt us. Watched you transform into something terrifying to keep us safe. I pulled him closer. Yes, Alexei, I'm still willing. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, and I felt the last of my walls crumble. This was real. This was happening. This dangerous, complicated, beautiful thing we were building. When we finally came up for air, he pressed his forehead to mine. Move into my room. Not the guest room. Mine. Alexei, I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. Just proximity. Falling asleep together. Waking up together. His voice dropped lower. Let me hold you at night. Let me learn the way you breathe when you're sleeping. The intimacy of the request stole my breath. Emma has her own room, her space. But we're a family now, Grace. Or we're becoming one. And families don't sleep in separate rooms because they're afraid of what it means. He was right. I'd been holding back, keeping part of myself separate. Insurance against the inevitable hurt. But watching him with Emma, seeing the way he cared for us, I realized the hurt would come whether I protected myself or not. The only question was whether I'd have beautiful memories to balance it. Okay, I whispered. I'll move into your room. His smile was blinding. Tonight? Are you always this impatient? Only about things that matter. He kissed me again, softer this time. And Grace? You matter. More than anything. That night, I moved my things from the guest room to Alexei's master suite. The room was huge, masculine, with a bed big enough to sleep 4 people and windows overlooking the lake. It smelled like him, cologne and coffee and something uniquely Alexei. I felt like an intruder until he pulled me into bed beside him, wrapped his arms around me and breathed out like he'd been waiting his whole life to hold someone like this. Perfect, he murmured against my hair. You're absolutely perfect. I fell asleep to the sound of his heartbeat, safer than I'd felt in years. 2 months passed in a blur of domesticity I'd never expected. Emma thrived, her health better than it had been in years. The combination of proper medication, clean air, and consistent care worked miracles. She hadn't had a serious attack since that first night. I fell into a routine that felt almost normal. Mornings with Emma, breakfast, schoolwork with her tutor, afternoons exploring the city, always with Dmitri or one of Alexei's men shadowing us at a discreet distance. Evenings as a family, the 3 of us eating dinner together, talking about our days. Nights in Alexei's arms, learning the geography of his body, the sounds he made when I touched him, the way he held me like I was something precious that might break. We hadn't slept together yet. Not fully. He was holding back, waiting for me to be ready, and I loved him for that patience even as I ached with wanting, because I did love him, had fallen completely, irrevocably, terrifyingly in love with a man who killed people for a living and read my daughter bedtime stories with funny voices. I hadn't told him yet. Wasn't sure how to articulate feelings this big, this complicated. How did you tell someone they'd become your entire world in just a few months? The shift came on a Tuesday. I was meeting Alexei for lunch at a restaurant he owned. One of his legitimate businesses, he'd told me with a slight smile, as if owning a 5-star restaurant made everything else legal by association. Emma was with Jana at the penthouse, safe behind multiple layers of security. The restaurant was beautiful, all white tablecloths and crystal chandeliers. Alexei sat at a corner table, reviewing something on his phone. He looked up when I approached, and his entire face transformed. That smile he reserved just for me. "You're early," he said, standing to pull out my chair. Traffic was lighter than expected. I settled into the seat, accepting the kiss he pressed to my temple. What are you working on? Logistics. He dismissed it with a wave. Nothing interesting. How was your morning? I'd learned this was code for nothing you need to worry about, which usually meant something illegal or dangerous. I'd stopped pushing for details about his work. Not because I didn't care, but because knowing specifics would force me to confront exactly what supporting him meant. We ordered, fell into easy conversation about Emma's progress, a gallery showing I wanted to attend, plans for the upcoming weekend, normal couple things, as if we were normal. I was halfway through describing Emma's latest art project when Alexei's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something in his expression shifted, went cold and hard in a way I'd learned to recognize. I need to take this. He stood abruptly. I'll be right back. He stepped away from the table, moving toward a private area near the kitchen. I watched him go, unease settling in my stomach. Something was wrong. 5 minutes passed. 10. Our food arrived, and I picked at my pasta. Appetite gone. Whatever that call was about, it wasn't good. When Alexei finally returned, his face was carefully blank, the expression he wore when dealing with something dangerous. Grace, we need to leave. What's wrong? Not here. He helped me from my chair, his grip gentle but firm. We're going home. Now. Dmitri appeared from nowhere, flanking us as we moved toward the exit. Other men I recognized from the penthouse security took positions around us. A convoy. Something was very wrong. The drive back was tense and silent. Alexei's jaw was clenched, his hand tight on mine. When I tried to ask questions, he just shook his head. At home. Where it's secure. The penthouse felt different when we arrived. More guards, all of them armed visibly now. Gianna met us at the door, her face pale. Emma? I asked immediately. Safe, in her room with Dr. Petrov. Gianna's accent was thicker with stress. I've been with her the whole time, Miss Grace. She doesn't know anything is wrong. What's happening? I turned to Alexei. Tell me right now. He guided me into his study, closed the door, ran a hand through his hair. A tell I'd learned meant he was genuinely worried. There's been a complication with the Volkov family's operations. What kind of complication? The kind that involves federal investigations. He met my eyes. The FBI has been building a case. They executed warrants this morning on several properties. Arrested 4 of our key people. My stomach dropped. Will they arrest you? Eventually, probably. I've insulated myself well, but federal investigations are thorough. They'll find connections. He moved closer, taking my hands. Grace, you need to understand what this means. Everything I've built, everything I've protected, it's at risk. What about us? Emma and me? You're safe. I've made sure of that. His grip tightened. But Grace, you need to make a choice. Right now, before this gets worse. What choice? Whether you stay. His voice was raw. If you're associated with me when the arrests come, when the trial starts, you'll be dragged into it. The media will crucify you. Every choice you've made, every moment you've spent with me, it'll be examined and judged. And Emma, his voice cracked. She'll have to watch her mother be called a criminal's girlfriend. Maybe worse. Are you asking me to leave? I'm giving you the option. Pain etched his features. I promised I'd never trap you, that you could walk away whenever you wanted. This is your chance, Grace. Walk away clean. Take Emma somewhere safe. I'll provide everything you need. New identities, money, security. You'll never have to worry about anything again. Except you. The words came out broken. I'd have to worry about you. What happens to you? Whether you're in prison, whether you're... I couldn't say it. Couldn't voice the fear that he might not survive whatever was coming. I'll handle it. Steele returned to his voice. I've been preparing for this possibility for years. I have lawyers, contingencies, people who owe me favors. But Grace, I can protect myself better if I'm not worried about protecting you and Emma too. The logic was sound, practical, and it shattered me. So that's it? Tears burned my eyes. You save us, give us this beautiful life, make us love you, and then ask us to leave because it's convenient? It's not convenient. It's necessary. His hands came up to frame my face. Grace, I love you. God, I love you more than I thought I could love anything. Which is exactly why I need you gone. Because if they use you against me, if they threaten Emma to make me talk, I'll break. I'll give them everything they want, and that will destroy people who depend on me. You love me. I focused on that, the first time he'd said it. You love me, but you're sending me away. I love you, so I'm giving you a choice. Stay and risk everything, or go and be safe. His thumbs brushed away my tears. What do you want, Grace? Really want? I thought about the past 2 months, about Emma's laughter echoing through the penthouse, about falling asleep in Alexei's arms, about the family we'd been building, imperfect and complicated and real. I thought about going back to struggling alone, about teaching Emma that when things got hard, you ran, about losing the first man I'd loved since my husband died. I want to stay. The decision settled over me like certainty. We both do. Grace. No. I pressed my fingers to his lips. You don't get to decide this for me. Yes, things are about to get hard. Yes, there will be scrutiny and judgment and probably danger. But Alexei, I've lived through hard before. I've survived poverty and grief and watching my daughter nearly die. I can survive this too. The FBI doesn't scare me as much as the thought of losing you. I pulled his face down to mine. I love you. I love the life we're building. And I'm not running just because things got complicated. You could lose everything. I could lose everything by leaving too. I kissed him softly. At least this way, I lose it fighting for something that matters. He pulled me against him, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. You're insane. Probably. I wrapped my arms around his neck. But you're insane. If you'll have me. Always. His voice was muffled against my hair. I'll have. You always, Grace. For as long as you'll let me. We stood like that for a long moment, holding each other while the world shifted around us. Then I pulled back. What happens now? Now I prepare for war. His expression hardened. The FBI thinks they have me. They don't. I've been moving assets, protecting people, building defenses for years. They'll come at me hard, but I'll come back harder. What do you need me to do? Keep Emma safe. Keep yourself safe. He cupped my face. And Grace? If at any point this becomes too much, if you change your mind, you tell me. No judgment, no anger. You just tell me and I'll get you out. I won't change my mind. You might. This is going to get ugly. Then we'll get ugly together. I managed a smile. I didn't fall in love with you because things were easy, Alexei. I fell in love with you despite everything being hard. A federal investigation doesn't change that. He kissed me then, deep and desperate and claiming. When we broke apart, his eyes had darkened with something beyond just desire. Marry me. The words hung between us, shocking in their suddenness. What? Marry me. He said it again, more certain. Right now. Today. Before the arrests come, before this gets worse. Marry me, Grace. Alexei, that's insane. Why? Because it's fast? We've known each other 4 months. I've known I wanted to marry you since the 2nd month. His hands tightened on my waist. I was waiting for the right time, the right moment. But there is no right time. There's just now. And I want you to be my wife before the world tries to tear us apart. This isn't romantic. This is panic. This is certainty. His voice was steady now. I'm certain I love you. Certain I want to spend my life with you. Certain that whether I'm free or in prison, I want you to be mine legally, officially, completely. Marry me, Grace. Please. I should have said no. Should have insisted we wait. Be rational. Think it through. But I looked at this man who'd saved my daughter, who'd given us safety and stability and love, who was now facing the destruction of everything he'd built and still put us first. Yes. The word came out steady. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile was blinding. Today? Today. I laughed through tears. But Alexei? Emma needs to be there, and it needs to be real, not just some courthouse thing. She deserves to see her mother get married properly. Done. He pulled out his phone, already making calls. I have a judge who owes me a favor. He'll come here. We'll do it in the penthouse garden. Simple. Intimate. Just us and Emma and the people who matter. You can arrange a wedding in a few hours? Grace, I run a criminal empire. I can arrange anything. But his voice was warm, teasing. Trust me? I trust you. And I did. Completely, terrifyingly, irrevocably. Then go tell our daughter she's about to get the stepfather she's been not so subtly hinting she wants. I'll handle the rest. 4 hours later, I stood in the penthouse garden wearing a simple white dress that Jana had somehow procured in my exact size. Emma was beside me in a pale blue dress, bouncing with excitement, holding a bouquet of flowers she'd arranged herself. Mama, you look like a princess, she whispered. You look like an angel, baby. The garden had been transformed. White flowers everywhere, chairs arranged in a small semicircle, candles floating in the fountain. A judge stood near the greenhouse, official and serious. Dmitri and the other security personnel had cleaned up, wearing suits, their weapons discreet but present. This was my wedding. Hasty, unplanned, probably illegal in some way given the circumstances. And it was perfect. Music started, something classical I didn't recognize. Emma tugged my hand. That's our cue, Mama. Let's go get you married. We walked together, my daughter and I, toward the man waiting at the end of the makeshift aisle. Alexei wore a dark suit, his hair perfect, his eyes locked on me with an intensity that stole my breath. When we reached him, Emma very seriously placed my hand in his, then stepped back to stand beside Jana. Take care of my mama, she stage whispered, or I'll be mad at you. Laughter rippled through the small gathering. Alexei smiled down at her. I promise, Malishka, she'll always be safe with me. The ceremony was brief. Traditional vows, simple and binding. The judge spoke about love and commitment and the seriousness of the promises we were making. I barely heard him. I was too focused on Alexei, on the way his hands trembled slightly when he slid the ring onto my finger, on the emotion in his eyes when he said, I do. When it was my turn, I looked at this man who'd entered my life during our darkest moment and transformed everything. I do, I said clearly. Completely. Forever. You may kiss your bride. Alexei pulled me close and kissed me with a gentleness that belied the desperation of the day. This was promise, not possession. This was partnership, not ownership. When we broke apart, Emma was cheering and everyone was clapping, and I was married to a man the FBI was actively investigating. It should have terrified me. Instead, I felt peace settle over me like a blanket. Mrs. Volkov, Alexei murmured against my ear. Mine. Finally mine. Yours, I agreed. And you're mine. Don't forget that part. Never. That night, after Emma was asleep and the last of the guests had left, Alexei led me to our bedroom. Our wedding night, impromptu and unconventional. He undressed me slowly, with reverence, kissing every inch of skin he revealed. Made love to me with a tenderness that brought tears to my eyes. Whispered promises against my skin in English and Russian. Words of devotion and possession and eternal love. And afterward, lying tangled together in sheets that cost more than my old apartment, I finally felt complete. Whatever comes, I whispered into the darkness, we face it together. Together, he agreed, pulling me closer. Always together. 3 days later, the FBI arrested Alexei. They came at dawn with warrants and cameras and enough agents to storm a fortress. Dmitri woke me with a gentle knock, his face grim. "Mrs. Volkov, they're here." I pulled on a robe, checked on Emma, still sleeping, thank God, and went to find my husband. Alexei stood in the living room, already dressed in a suit, his hands cuffed in front of him. He looked calm, almost bored, as agents swarmed through our home with boxes and cameras. "Grace," his voice was steady. "Call Moretti, my lawyer. He's expecting this." "Alexei?" "I'll be fine." His eyes held mine. "This is theater. They're trying to scare me. It won't work." The lead agent, a woman with severe hair and colder eyes, stepped forward. "Alexei Volkov, you're under arrest for racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder, and about 30 other charges. You have the right to remain silent." I stopped listening, just focused on Alexei's face, on the message in his eyes. "Stay strong. Protect Emma. Trust the plan." They led him out in handcuffs, cameras flashing. I followed as far as the door, my hands shaking. At the elevator, he turned back. "I love you," he said clearly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Tell Emma I love her too. I'll come home soon." Then he was gone, and I was standing in the ruins of our perfect morning, my daughter about to wake up and ask where her stepfather was. I'd made my choice. To stay, to fight, to be part of this world. Now I had to live with the consequences. The first week without Alexei was the hardest. Not because of the media circus, though that was brutal, but because Emma kept asking when he was coming home. "Soon, baby," I'd tell her, lying with a smile. "He just has some business to handle." "Is he in trouble?" She was too perceptive, too smart to be fooled for long. "Yes, but he has very good people helping him. He'll be okay." I hoped I was telling the truth. Vincent Moretti, Alexei's lawyer, became a fixture in our lives. Late 50s, sharp as a blade, with a reputation that made prosecutors nervous. He met with me daily, explaining the charges, the strategy, the reality of what we were facing. "They have circumstantial evidence," he said on day 3, sitting in Alexei's study like he belonged there. "Financial records that suggest money laundering. Testimony from people willing to trade information for reduced sentences. But nothing concrete that ties him directly to violent crimes." "What does that mean?" "It means this could go either way." Moretti's expression was carefully neutral. "Best case, we discredit the witnesses, argue the financial irregularities are legitimate business practices, and he's acquitted. Worst case?" He paused. 20 years, minimum. 20 years. Emma would be 27. I'd be almost 50. A lifetime. "What can I do?" I asked. "How do I help?" "Stay visible. Stay loyal." Moretti leaned forward. "The prosecution is going to come after you next, Mrs. Volkov. They'll offer you deals. Immunity, witness protection, money, if you testify against your husband. They'll paint him as a monster who manipulated you, trapped you, endangered your daughter. I won't testify against him. I know. But they'll make it very attractive and very frightening." His eyes held mine. "They'll threaten to take Emma. Claim you're an unfit mother for exposing her to this lifestyle. They'll freeze assets. Make it impossible to support yourself. They'll do everything they can to break you because breaking you means breaking Alexei. I won't break. Mrs. Volkov, Grace, I've seen stronger people than you fold under this kind of pressure. The federal government has unlimited resources and no conscience when it comes to taking down organized crime figures. If you're going to stand by your husband, you need to be prepared for war. Then prepare me. Over the next week, Moretti did exactly that. Taught me what to say and what not to say when the FBI inevitably came knocking. Explained my rights, the limits of their authority, the traps they'd lay. Set up accounts in my name that couldn't be frozen. Established trusts for Emma's care. Built a legal fortress around us. Alexei planned for this, Moretti admitted. Years ago, before he even met you. He knew eventually they'd come for him, and he made sure anyone he cared about would be protected. How long has he been expecting this? Since he took over the family operations at 25. Smart men in this business always prepare for the worst. Moretti stood, gathering his briefcase. But Grace, he never planned on having someone like you. Someone he'd actually care about enough to risk everything for. That changes the equation. How? It gives him something to lose, and men with something to lose make mistakes. He paused at the door. Make sure he doesn't make any for you. I visited Alexei twice a week at the Federal Detention Center. The visits were brief, monitored, every word likely recorded. We couldn't touch beyond a brief hand squeeze, couldn't speak freely, couldn't be ourselves. How's Emma? He asked during the second visit, his eyes drinking me in like a man dying of thirst. Missing you. She drew you a picture. They wouldn't let me bring it in. My voice cracked. She doesn't understand why you can't come home. I know. God, I know. His hands clenched on the table between us. Grace, if this becomes too much. Stop. I cut him off. We've had this conversation. I'm not leaving. I'm not running. I'm here, Alexei. For however long this takes. Something in his expression crumbled. I don't deserve you. Probably not. I managed to smile. But you're stuck with me anyway. The prosecution came for me on day 12. 2 agents. The same severe-looking woman who'd arrested Alexei and a younger man with dead eyes. They showed up at the penthouse with subpoenas and offers I was supposed to find. Irresistible. Mrs. Volkov, I'm Special Agent Reeves. That's my name, I interrupted. I was Grace Reeves before I married Alexei. An interesting coincidence. Agent Reeves smiled without warmth. We'd like to talk to you about your husband, about how you met, about what you know regarding his business operations. I have nothing to say without my lawyer present. We're not arresting you, Mrs. Volkov. This is just a conversation. Then we have nothing to talk about. I started to close the door. The male agent put his foot in the doorway. We know about Emma's medical condition, about how you couldn't afford her medication, about how Alexei Volkov swooped in like a savior and gave you everything you needed. Ice flooded my veins. Get your foot out of my door. It must have seemed like a miracle, Agent Reeves continued. This rich, powerful man offering to solve all your problems. But Mrs. Volkov, Grace, he wasn't saving you. He was trapping you. Using your daughter's illness to manipulate you into his world. You don't know anything about him. We know he runs a criminal organization responsible for millions in drug trafficking, dozens of murders, and the corruption of countless officials. We know he's dangerous. She leaned closer. And we know you're a good mother who never would have exposed her daughter to this lifestyle if she'd had a choice. I had a choice. I chose him. Did you? Or did he make it impossible to choose anything else? The male agent pulled out a folder. We can help you, Grace. Witness protection, new identities, financial support. You and Emma can disappear. Start over somewhere safe. All you have to do is testify about what you've seen, what you know. I know my husband saved my daughter's life. I know he's been nothing but kind and generous and protective. I know he loves us. My voice rose. That's what I know. And that's what I'd testify to if I ever took the stand. Even if it means Emma grows up visiting her stepfather in prison? Agent Reeves's expression hardened. Even if it means teaching her that loyalty to criminals is more important than doing what's right? Get out. I barely controlled the rage. Out of my home, away from my family. If you want to talk to me again, go through my lawyer. They left, but the visit shook me more than I wanted to admit, because they'd touched on the fear I carried constantly, that I was selfish. That keeping Emma in Alexei's world was about my happiness, not her well-being. That night, after Emma was asleep, I sat in Alexei's study and let myself break down. Cried into my hands with a ferocity that left me shaking. For the life we'd lost, for the uncertain future, for the weight of the choice I'd made. Mrs. Volkov? I looked up to find Dmitri in the doorway, his massive frame somehow gentle. I'm fine, I lied, wiping my eyes. Just tired. You're allowed to not be fine. He moved into the room, sat in the chair across from the desk. This is hard, harder than most people could handle. I can handle it. I know. But you don't have to handle it alone. He was quiet for a moment. Mr. Volkov, before he was arrested, he gave me instructions. If you ever needed anything, if you were ever in danger, I'm to protect you like I'd protect him. You and Emma both. I know. You've been amazing, Dmitri. All of you have. What I'm trying to say is, we're family too. Not just employees. We care about the boss, yes, but we also care about you. About the little one. You made Mr. Volkov happy, made him more human. We won't forget that. The kindness broke something in me. Thank you, I whispered. That means more than you know. The FBI, they came today. How did you? We have cameras. We saw them. His expression darkened. What did they want? Me to betray Alexei. Offered me the world if I'd testify against him. And you said? No, obviously. I straightened in the chair. But Dmitri, they brought up Emma. Made me question whether I'm doing the right thing by keeping her here. Are you questioning it? I thought about that. Really thought. No, because Emma is happier here than she's ever been. Healthier, more confident. Yes, she's in a complicated situation, but she's loved and protected and thriving. That matters more than keeping her away from complexity. Then trust yourself, Mrs. Volkov. Trust that you know your daughter better than federal agents with agendas. He stood. And know that whatever happens, we're here. All of us. After he left, I felt steadier. Stronger. I'd made my choice. Now, I just had to live with it. The trial began 6 weeks after Alexei's arrest. Media frenzy, courthouse steps packed with cameras, protesters on both sides, some calling Alexei a criminal, others calling him a businessman being persecuted by an overreaching government. I attended every day, sat in the front row behind the defense table where Alexei could see me, wore simple clothes, no jewelry except my wedding ring. Moretti had coached me on appearance, look supportive but not defiant, loving but not naive. You're the sympathetic figure, he'd explained. The widow who fell in love with a dangerous man. Play it right, and the jury sees you as evidence that Alexei has humanity. I'm not playing anything. I'm just supporting my husband. In this courtroom, everything is performance, even truth. The prosecution was brutal. They paraded witnesses who testified about Alexei's violent orders, his criminal enterprises, his ruthless business practices. They showed financial records suggesting millions in laundered money. They painted a picture of a monster who operated above the law. Some of it was true. Some was exaggeration. All of it was damning. Alexei sat through it with his expression carefully neutral. Only I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands clenched when they discussed specific incidents. Only I knew what it cost him to sit silent while they destroyed his reputation. The defense's strategy was simple: create reasonable doubt, show that the witnesses were unreliable criminals trading testimony for reduced sentences, argue that the financial records were ambiguous, that legitimate business could look like money laundering. Humanize Alexei through character witnesses who testified to his generosity, his loyalty, his code of ethics. It was working. I could see it in the jury's faces, uncertainty beginning to creep in. Then the prosecution called their star witness, Marcus Volkov, Alexei's cousin. I felt Alexei tense beside me the moment Marcus walked in, felt the fury rolling off him in waves even though his expression never changed. Marcus testified for 3 hours, detailed specific crimes, specific orders Alexei had given, named names, dates, locations. He was credible, specific, devastating. And I realized with sinking certainty, this was the betrayal that might cost us everything. During the recess, I was allowed a brief moment with Alexei in the holding room. Moretti gave us privacy, though guards stood just outside the door. "Who is he?" I asked immediately. "Marcus?" "My cousin, my blood." Alexei's voice was cold, dead. "I brought him into the organization when he had nothing, gave him position, power, wealth, and he's testifying against me to save himself from a drug charge. What do we do? Nothing. Moretti will cross-examine him, try to discredit his testimony. But Grace..." His eyes met mine. "This is bad. Marcus knows too much. He can corroborate things the other witnesses couldn't." "So what does that mean?" "It means I might actually go to prison." He said it calmly, like discussing the weather. 20 years, maybe more." "No." The word came out fierce. "No, that's not happening. We'll appeal, we'll..." "Grace." He pulled me into his arms, the guards shifting but not intervening. "Listen to me. If I'm convicted, if I go away, you take Emma and you leave Chicago. Moretti has everything set up. Money, protection, a new life. You don't wait for me. Alexei..." 20 years, Grace. Emma would be 27. You'd be..." His voice cracked. "You'd waste your entire life waiting for a man in prison. I won't let you do that. You don't get to decide what I do. I'm your husband. I'm deciding." His hands tightened on me. "Promise me. If I'm convicted, you leave. You build a life somewhere safe. You let Emma grow up normal, and you don't look back." "I can't promise that." "Then I'm asking." His forehead pressed to mine. "Please, Grace. Please don't sacrifice everything for me. I've done terrible things. Maybe I deserve prison, but you don't deserve to suffer for my choices. You saved us. You gave us everything." Tears streamed down my face. How do I just walk away from that? By being the strong woman I fell in love with. The one who survives anything. The one who puts her daughter first. He kissed me, soft and desperate. "Survive this, Grace. For Emma. For yourself. Even if it means forgetting me." "I could never forget you." "Then just survive." The guard knocked, indicating time was up. "That's all I need. Your survival." The trial continued for another week. Marcus's testimony was devastating, but Moretti managed to raise questions about his credibility. Showed he was facing serious charges himself, that his cooperation agreement gave him every reason to lie. Created enough doubt that the jury looked uncertain. Closing arguments were powerful on both sides. The prosecution painted Alexei as a menace to society. The defense painted him as a businessman caught in an overreaching investigation. The jury deliberated for 3 days. I didn't sleep, didn't eat. Just sat with Emma and tried to pretend everything was fine while my world hung in the balance. On the 3rd day, the call came. Verdict reached. The courtroom was packed. I sat in my usual seat, Emma beside me. Moretti had fought to let her attend, argued that she deserved to be with family regardless of the outcome. She held my hand, her small fingers tight with worry. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" the judge asked. "We have, Your Honor." The four women stood. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only hold Emma and watch Alexei's back, straight and proud as he faced his fate. "On the count of racketeering, we find the defendant not guilty." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Beside me, Emma squeezed my hand tighter. "On the count of money laundering, we find the defendant not guilty." The murmur grew louder. I felt tears starting, hope flooding through me. "On the count of conspiracy to commit murder, we find the defendant not guilty." Count after count. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. The prosecution had lost, completely. When the final verdict was read, the courtroom erupted. Alexei's supporters cheering, prosecutors looking shell-shocked. The judge banged his gavel, calling for order. "Mr. Volkov, you're free to go, but let me be clear. You may have been acquitted today, but this court is watching. Any hint of criminal activity, any suggestion that you're returning to your previous lifestyle, and the federal government will come for you again. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." Alexei's voice was steady, giving nothing away. "Then you're dismissed. Next case." It was over, just like that. Months of fear and uncertainty ended with 12 people deciding the evidence wasn't strong enough. Alexei turned, his eyes finding mine across the courtroom. The relief, the joy, the love in his expression nearly destroyed me. Emma yanked free from my hand and ran. Past the barrier, past the guards who were too shocked to stop her, straight to Alexei. He caught her, lifting her into his arms, burying his face in her hair. "You came home," she sobbed. "You came home like you promised." "I'll always come home, Malishka, always." I made it to them on shaking legs. Alexei pulled me in with his free arm, and we stood there in the courtroom, our family, reunited, whole. "Let's go home," I whispered. "Yes." He kissed my forehead. "Let's go home." But home wasn't waiting for us, not safely. We found out 3 hours later when Dmitri's call came through. The penthouse had been attacked. Not by feds, by rivals who'd seen the trial as an opportunity. Who'd assumed Alexei would be convicted. His organization weakened. They'd been waiting for him to return home. Planned an ambush. "How many?" Alexei's voice was ice cold as we diverted the car to a safe location, one of his properties across the city. 10, maybe 12. We held them off. But boss, they knew exactly where to hit us. Someone on the inside gave them information. "Marcus." Alexei's jaw clenched. "He didn't just testify. He gave them our security protocols." "What do we do?" I asked, Emma dozing against my shoulder, exhausted from the day's emotions. "We end this." He looked at me, and I saw the predator fully emerged. The monster I'd glimpsed during that first attack. "Grace, I need you and Emma to stay here. Dmitri and his best men will protect you, but I have to handle this situation personally. You just got acquitted. If something happens, if I don't handle this, they'll keep coming. Keep targeting us. Keep using you and Emma as leverage." His hand cupped my face. "I have to eliminate this threat completely. Tonight." "Alexei, I know what I'm asking. I know it's dangerous. But Grace, this is my world. This is what I do." His eyes held mine. "Trust me?" I thought about the judge's warning, about how close we'd come to losing everything, about Emma sleeping peacefully against me, unaware that danger still stalked us. "What do you need me to do?" Relief flooded his expression. "Stay here. Keep Emma safe. Don't open the door for anyone except Dmitri or me. If something goes wrong..." He pulled out a phone, pressed it into my hand. Press 1. It'll connect you to Moretti. He'll get you out of the city, out of the country if necessary. Nothing's going to go wrong. Probably not. He kissed me, hard and claiming. But I need to know you'll survive if it does. Promise me, Grace. Promise you'll protect our daughter no matter what. I promise. I held him tight. But you promise something too. Promise you'll come back to us. Always. He pressed his forehead to mine. I'll always come back to you. Then he was gone, and I was alone with Emma in a safe house, wondering if I'd just seen my husband for the last time. The waiting was agony. Hours passed. Emma woke up confused about where we were, and I had to explain, carefully, using kid-appropriate language, that there was a problem at home, that Alexei was fixing it, that we were safe here. Is he fighting bad guys? She asked. Something like that, baby. Will he win? I thought about the man who'd fought 5 armed intruders to protect us, who'd built an empire from nothing, who'd survived a federal trial through sheer willpower and preparation. Yes, I said with certainty. He'll win. Dmitri called every hour with updates. The attack had been coordinated but sloppy. Alexei's people had tracked them back to their base of operations, a warehouse in the industrial district. Boss is going in now, Dmitri reported on the 4th call. Should be done within the hour. Define done. Pause. Mrs. Volkov, it's better if you don't know the details. I'm his wife, Dmitri. I need to know. He's eliminating the threat. All of it. The people who attacked us, the organization that sent them, and the traitor who gave them our information. His voice softened. It's going to be ugly, ma'am. The boss, when he's protecting what's his, he doesn't show mercy. Good, I said, surprising myself. They threatened my daughter. They get what they deserve. Yes, ma'am. I'll call when it's done. I put Emma to bed in the safe house's single bedroom, then sat in the living room with all the lights off, watching the door and clutching the emergency phone Alexei had given me. The call came at 2 a.m. Not Dmitri. Alexei. It's done, he said without preamble. The threat's eliminated. We're cleaning up now. Are you hurt? Bruised. Nothing serious. A pause. Grace, there's something you should know about Marcus. My stomach clenched. What about him? He was there, at the warehouse, part of the organization that tried to take us down. His voice was carefully controlled. He didn't just betray me with testimony. He's been working against the family for months, setting up this whole situation. What did you do? Silence. Long enough that I knew the answer before he spoke. What I had to do. What family law demands for betrayal this deep. He'd killed his cousin. His blood. And I couldn't find it in myself to feel horror. Are you okay? I asked instead. No. Raw honesty. But I will be. When I see you and Emma safe. When I can hold you both, and remember why I do any of this. Come home, Alexei. We're waiting. Give me 2 hours. I need to make sure everything's secure, that there are no loose ends. Then I'm coming to get you. Both of you. His voice softened. And Grace? I love you. Even when I'm a monster. Even when I do terrible things. I love you. I know. I love you too. I closed my eyes. All of you. The good and the terrible. He arrived 90 minutes later. I heard the car, watched through the window as he climbed out, moving stiffly but whole. Alive. I met him at the door and threw myself into his arms. It's over, he murmured into my hair. Really over. No more threats, no more trials. Just us. Just us, I agreed. We stood like that until Emma appeared, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Can we go home now? She asked plaintively. Alexei scooped her up. Yes, Malishka. Let's go home. The penthouse had been repaired, cleaned, secured with even more extensive protocols. You couldn't tell anything violent had happened there, but I felt it, the ghost of what might have been. We could move, Alexei offered a week later. New place, fresh start. Somewhere without bad memories. I looked around the penthouse, the garden where we'd gotten married, the bedroom where we'd first made love, Emma's room with her art projects covering every surface. This is our home, I said. Bad things happened here, yes, but good things too. Our family started here. I'm not letting fear drive us out. You're certain? I'm certain. I turned to face him. Besides, we have a life to build, a daughter to raise, a future to figure out. We don't have time for fear. His smile was slow, genuine. How did I get so lucky? You opened a door during a blizzard when you didn't have to. Best decision I ever made. Life settled into a new rhythm over the following months. Alexei stepped back from the more dangerous aspects of his business, focusing on legitimate operations. The federal scrutiny hadn't disappeared. We knew we were being watched. But he was careful now. Strategic. I'm building something different, he told me one night. Something Emma can inherit without shame. Something that doesn't require violence to maintain. That's possible? In your world? It has to be. Because I refuse to let my daughter grow up worried her father might not come home. His hand found mine. You changed me, Grace. Made me want more than just power and survival. Made me want a legacy worth being proud of. You're already worth being proud of. Not yet. But I will be. Emma thrived. Turned 8 with a party in the penthouse that included half her school and more presents than any child needed. Started taking piano lessons and art classes. Grew into a confident, happy kid who never doubted she was loved. She still asked questions sometimes, about why Alexei had business meetings at strange hours, about why we had so much security, about why some of her friends' parents didn't let them visit our home. We answered honestly, at her level. Explained that Alexei worked in complicated industries that some people didn't understand. That security was important for anyone with resources. That not everyone would approve of our family, and that was okay. As long as we love each other, Emma said seriously. That's what matters, right? Right, baby. Good, because I love you both. And I don't care what anyone else thinks. 6 months after the trial, Alexei and I renewed our vows. Properly this time, with planning and guests and Emma as a bridesmaid. Standing in front of friends and family, some of them criminal, some of them legitimate, all of them important to us. I promised again to love this complicated, dangerous, devoted man. I promised to stand by you through trials and peace. Through darkness and light, I said, looking into his eyes. I promise to be your partner, your equal, your home, for as long as we both live. I promise to protect you, cherish you, and never take your choice away, he replied. I promise to be worthy of the gift you've given me, your trust, your love, your life. I promise to come home to you, always. When he kissed me, the entire room applauded. Emma cheered the loudest. That night, lying in his arms with moonlight streaming through the windows, I thought about the journey we'd taken. From that desperate night in the blizzard to this moment of peace. Do you regret it? Alexei asked quietly. Saying yes that night? Staying through everything? I thought about it honestly. About the fear, the trial, the danger. About the media scrutiny and the judgment and the complexity. No, I said finally. Because yes, it was hard. Yes, there were moments I was terrified. But Alexei, you gave me more than safety and security. You gave me partnership. You saw me when I was invisible. You fought for Emma like she was yours from the beginning. You made me believe I deserved more than just survival. You deserved everything. And you gave it to me. I turned to face him. Not just money or protection. You gave me choice, agency, the freedom to decide my own path, even when that path was dangerous. That's what I'll never regret. He pulled me closer. I love you, Grace Volkoff. I love you too. I kissed him softly. My monster. My savior. My home. Emma's 10th birthday party was in full swing in the penthouse garden. Her friends ran through the space laughing and shouting, while parents mingled near the buffet. Some of those parents still looked at us with suspicion. Most had warmed up over time. I stood watching it all from the terrace, one hand resting on my swollen belly. 8 months pregnant, due in 3 weeks. A son, we'd learned. A brother for Emma. Alexei appeared behind me, his arms wrapping around me carefully, his hands settling over mine on my stomach. She's happy, he murmured. She's perfect, I agreed, watching Emma show her friends her new art supplies. Alexei had bought her an entire professional studio setup. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For giving me this. Family. Purpose. A reason to be better than I was. His hands tightened. For taking a chance on a monster in an expensive suit. You were never a monster to us. I was a monster who learned how to love. He kissed my temple. There's a difference. Emma spotted us and ran over, her face flushed with happiness. Mama, Mr. Dmitri said he'd teach me self-defense. Can I? Please? I looked at Alexei, who shrugged. She should know how to protect herself. I'm 10. I can handle it. Emma bounced on her toes. Fine, I relented, but only with Dmitri. And you follow every safety rule. Yes. She hugged us both, then ran back to her friends. She's going to be formidable, I said. She already is. She's your daughter. Alexei's hand traced patterns on my belly. Both our children will be. Strong, brave, uncompromising. And loved. Always loved. Always, he agreed. I thought about the woman I'd been 2.5 years ago. Desperate, exhausted, pounding on a stranger's door with blood on her hands. I thought about the choice I'd made to stay, to trust, to love someone the world told me was irredeemable. I'd chosen right. Not because it was easy, but because it was true. Sometimes the most dangerous choice is the right one. Sometimes monsters make the best protectors. And sometimes, when you're drowning in darkness, the person who saves you isn't who you expected, but they're exactly who you need. Grace? Alexei's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Yeah? Stop overthinking and come enjoy our daughter's party. I laughed, letting him guide me back to the celebration. Our family, our life, our beautiful, complicated, perfect reality. Everything I'd fought for. Everything worth having. Everything that began with a desperate plea at a stranger's door during the worst night of my life and became the best decision I ever made. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.